Hey, runners, are you feeling worn out but short on time? In just 5 minutes, you can recharge your body and mind. And these quick self care practices designed specifically for busy runners like you. Let's dive in and discover how to boost your energy and keep your running game strong. Welcome to the Healthy Runner Podcast, where we help you get stronger, run faster, and enjoy lifelong injury free running. Today, my guest is Tia Graham, who is a best selling author, keynote, and TED speaker, and founder of Arrive at Happy and the Calm Working Moms Collective. She has certifications in applied neuroscience, positive psychology, coaching, and is a certified chief happiness officer. Welcome to the show, Tia.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here and share all of the goodness that you provide to your community. And if you guys are new to the show here, we teach you how to execute the 6 key parts of your running journey. So you'll not only feel more confident in getting stronger and running faster, but you'll stay healthy and enjoy the process of running again. And what are those parts? One is mindset. Two is strength training. Three is the run plan. Four is nutrition. Five is recovery. And six is race strategy. Therefore, in today's episode, you will get your recovery bucket filled as Tia is going to share her expertise in optimizing self care. And she's going to provide you with 10 self care strategies that you can do in 5 minutes or less. Like, that's not a lot of time, guys, right? Like, everyone can find 5 minutes in their day, even if you're a busy runner and always on the go. So, Tia, we always like to start out with a little dynamic warm up, like we would kind of if we were going out for a run and we got to get
Love
the
it.
blood flow going. So, where do you call home? And give us a little bit of backstory on how you've gotten to this point in your career journey.
Sure. So I've lived in a lot of different places, but where I call home now is Irvine, California. So in Orange County. Um, and a little bit about how I got to where I am now. So for 15 years, worked in the luxury hospitality industry. I was a director of sales and marketing in the hotel industry. And I will say, pretty much my whole life, I've been a runner, and it is one of my favorite things to do. I could go on and on, but I won't. Everyone listening knows that. Um, and I worked in different parts in the United States as well as in Europe. And when I went back to work after having my second daughter, is when I started creating my own company, which is called Arrive at Happy. I've always been really, really passionate about happiness and happiness at work. And life changed a lot with having a baby and a toddler. And at this point is when I started formally researching the science of happiness, also known as positive psychology, and also researching happiness at work. And created my company and started giving keynote talks and doing leadership training, and wrote a book called Be a Happy Leader. And loved it, very, very passionate about it. And as I was learning all the research, I thought, oh my gosh, everyone in the world needs to know this, because there's classes taught at Harvard and Yale and different Ivy League universities, but it's not as widespread as it needs to be, at least I believe. And worked with all different types of organizations, and of course did my TED Talk. And then last year, I launched a community for high achieving working moms. Just very passionate about supporting working moms like myself. And yeah, that's the quick story.
Yeah. What was the reason that you kind of did pivot from, working with a lot of like, I know you've worked with like huge corporate companies and you've done like some massive trainings, more in like the corporate sector. And, why did you decide to kind of really go into what you're doing now and in helping like busy working moms out?
Yes. A couple of reasons. The first is that with all of my personal experience as well as all of my research, I feel that I can most powerfully serve working moms. um, for where I am right now. I feel like this is the person that I can help transform the most. For 15 years, I was a corporate leader, and I love organizations and business. And so when I started my company, I felt who I could help the most were leaders, because I was a leader for 14 years. And also, one of my daughters is autistic, and so my parenting journey has been a very beautiful but very, very challenging one. And I've learned a lot about happiness as well as healing, and so much more that I know can help other high achieving working moms like myself. And then on the personal side, I decided that I didn't want to travel as much all around the country giving talks. That I really, even though without kids, I would travel 3 times a week, but I really didn't want to travel as much. So those were the main reasons.
Yeah, that makes sense. And um, yeah, I just love that you've kind of found your passion for, working with the people that you feel like you can really serve the most and be able to really like impact their lives. Right now, I am like a huge believer in that. And, we all have that kind of season of life, I guess. And some
Yep.
people, hey, they stay in the same career and, forever. Like I had a career as a physical therapy faculty member, and now I'm serving exclusively the running community and like who my people are and who I feel like I can have the most impact. So I love that you have found that passion yourself. And I know you mentioned that you've always run before. Like what does running look like for you, and what is the best types of runs that you like to go on nowadays?
So as I was listening to you say was it five at the beginning, I was like, okay, I actually need to learn a lot from Dwayne, and my husband also is a runner. So uh, what am I? I'm 45 now. So in my 20s, I used to run, oh gosh, 6 days a week, go for just hour, I don't know, like just long runs. And I've never participated in races. It was always for me and just like love the feeling of it. Um, but I actually I have thin cartilage in one of my knees, so I don't run as much anymore, and I now do shorter runs. And so I know that I actually need to strengthen like my hip, and I've done some physical therapy, but we could talk separately about that. Um, but I still hike a lot, and like I said, I do run. I don't do like the 6 days a week like I used to when I was younger. Um, but my husband and I and kids, we travel a lot, so I always run whenever we're traveling in a new place. I think it's the best thing ever. But it's really where we live, and luckily we have a lot of beautiful nature here in Southern California. So and it's nice all year long.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. We travel a lot for both my girls were in like travel volleyball, and now one's in college, and my other one, she's still traveling. So we just got back from Atlanta last weekend, and yeah, I just love, like you said, whenever you're traveling, like going for a run, exploring. It's like the most efficient way to like
Yes.
explore the area around where you're staying, and you can explore it by foot and see a lot of that you couldn't see if you were walking. So I
Mhm.
love it. It sounds like you kind of have running as that part of your exercise practice, right?
Yes.
And kind of moving your body to kind of help your mind as well as,
Yes.
help you physically. So I love that. Yeah, so let's get into this self care topic. And this is one of those topics that I personally, we're the same age, I'm 45 as well, that I have begun to embrace in my 40s and realize the importance of it. But, if someone really hasn't, even thought about self care yet, what's like the meaning? What does self care mean to you? And what is the importance of self care for runners?
Yes. So, for everyone listening, I want you to think about this holistically. And I come from the lens of the science of happiness. And so, when I think about self care, it's about your holistic well being. And it's not just taking care of your physical body. And, a lot of our Western world is very obsessed with how we look physically. And so it's self care for that. And so I want everyone to think that that's one piece of it. So for self care, I think about your spiritual well being, your physical well being, taking care of your mind and your body, your intellectual well being, right? Learning and growing. There's also relational well being, relationship with yourself, relationship with others, as well as emotional well being, making choices to increase your positive emotions, and then also making choices to have a healthy relationship for when you're, have painful emotions. And so the short way of thinking about that is taking care of your mind, body, and soul, right? So it's caring for your whole self. And gosh, the importance of it. So when we prioritize our well-being and prioritize taking care of our whole self, we are healthier, we will live longer, we are happier, we'll have better relationships, we'll be more productive at work, we'll be more creative and innovative. We were talking about our kids. Set the example for your children, inspire your friends and family who are around you. Probably one of the really important things is also that life is really challenging. There are big ups and downs, and some of us have higher set points of happiness than others, but all of us have to take care of our psychological immune system just as much as we're taking care of our physical immune system. And I think, a lot of people think, oh, if I'm just taking care of my body, I'll take care of everything else. It's like we also need to really take care of our mind and our spirit. And everything's interconnected. So it's really, really important.
Yeah, it's almost like how you mentioned self-care is more like this holistic and looking at like all those domains of well-being as like I kind of created, this system of looking at running as not only the running, right? That
Right.
there are these other steps in order to do the running, right? That you
Right.
need the nutrition, you need the strength training, you need the recovery,
Mindset.
you need
Yeah.
the mindset, right? Like all of those are
Yes.
a holistic approach to kind of how we look at running. And from what I'm hearing from you is self-care is really this holistic approach to looking at your overall like health and wellness or your well-being, for how you show up as a human essentially, right?
Yes. Yes. And caring for yourself, right? And that you could, I would use the word love, right? Loving yourself just like you would your child and doing everything to take care of them, doing that for yourself, especially in today's very fast paced, technology filled, 24/7 crazy news cycle, all the different, computers in our pockets, just like, everything that we have in our modern life. It's probably even more important now than maybe it was 100 years ago.
Yeah, and what happens if we don't practice this self-care and we do, go in this modern age world of being connected 100% of the day, that we can, if we so choose to do, right? What happens if we don't practice self-care?
Well, it's the opposite of kind of all the benefits, right? So your body is going to let you know sooner or later whether it's pain or sickness or other challenges, insomnia, like, could go on and on in terms of the physical. You also are going to have a shorter fuse with your loved ones, whether it's your spouse, kids, all the people around you. Your brain, so self-care makes us feel more positive and optimistic. And so if you're not, you're going to be more negative and pessimistic. And you're going to have a narrower vision, and you're not going to be able to think as innovatively and creatively, be able to problem solve, whether it's personal problems or challenges in your career. And you're going to have more of those painful emotions than the positive ones. So you will have more anxiety, anger, chronic stress, apathy, etc. Um, and you're also I come back to that, like setting of the example, right? Of all the people that you care about, you're showing them that you're not taking care of yourself, and then there's a ripple effect with our communities, family, friends, etc. So yeah, it's really, really important.
Yeah, and this is where I constantly see this in our mother runners. And I've mentioned this many times on the podcast before because, like all the athletes that we work with, I see this clear difference in mom runners always going above and beyond, right? Like you will literally like cut all your limbs off for your children before you do like anything else for yourself.
Yes, I
And
see it too. A lot of what moms don't exercise, let alone run.
yeah, and those that are running, they're just getting in the runs, the bare minimum because they don't have time and they're not, taking the time for like other self-care things we're going to talk about today to enhance recovery from the
Mhm,
running that they're doing.
mhm.
And it is always this, I guess, struggle that I feel like a lot of, especially working moms feel like, that it's almost selfish to like
Yes,
do something for themselves. Like, what do
they
you
feel
say to that?
guilty.
How do you kind of get rid of that mom guilt? Like, what do you say to that?
Yeah. So first of all, I can relate, and I would not, anyone listening that's feeling this, do not judge yourself. That is completely common. And working moms, there's a lot of challenges that working moms face. Societal pressures, gender role expectations, things that have happened in their childhood that make them extra self-critical. Many, many different factors. But the antidote to feeling that guilt, like you said, cutting off the limbs for everyone else and then barely giving yourself scraps, is self-love, right? Which is that higher level of care, is truly valuing yourself and believing that you are absolutely worthy of taking care of yourself. And by taking care of your mind, your physical body, your spirit, um, it is a choice. So what the science of happiness shows is that we have agency over our thinking and over how we behave. Genetics, we don't have control over. You inherit those, and a lot of our life circumstances, we don't get to change those, but we do have agency and control over how we think and how we behave. So, and I will say, I was someone who struggled with really high levels of guilt for years and years. And that's one of the reasons I created the community. And I realized where it started. And then I realized, this story I'm telling myself is not true. So you absolutely can change it um, by making the decision that you want to work on it, and by choosing to give yourself the time, the care, the love, and knowing that when you're doing that, it's not making you less of a mom, and it's not making you less of a career person.
And I would say that I would argue that you allowing yourself to get to that higher level allows you to show up better, right?
Yes,
As a mom, as an
yes,
employee, or as
yes,
a business leader, right? And serve those that you're serving, right? You have to almost take care of yourself first so you can serve the people that you really want to serve.
yes. And moms care so much about their children, and also working moms care a lot about their career. It's also, this might be helpful for a mindset piece, is that your children want you to be happy. They would rather have you be happy and around them a little bit less than around them all the time, or more time to them, but you're negative and pessimistic and not feeling great because you're not giving yourself self-care.
Right.
It's kind of quality over quantity. And absolutely, like, there is so much research, I write so much about it in my book, about when you take care of yourself, you sell more, you're a better leader, you have higher levels of retention, if you're on and on and on. And you work faster, you work smarter. but I think what you said is the key. You constantly feel like you don't have enough time. And so it's changing that relationship with time. And instead of saying, oh, I'm time strapped or I don't have enough time, it's saying, I do have enough time and I'm going to choose how I spend it. And I'm not going to constantly tell myself that I am time poor.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's like reframing that, and yeah, that makes sense. And like you get the opportunity to, right,
I get
do
to.
whatever you're doing, right? You get to, and like a lot of people say that about going for a run, like I have to go for a run today, or I have to get this many miles in for this race. And no, like you get the opportunity to actually go for a run, move your body, get your mind feeling better, help yourself physically, right? Or you get the opportunity to train for this half marathon or whatever race that you have on the calendar. So I love kind of that reframing. And I want to get into some kind of actionable strategies for our community to be able to implement like self care strategies that they can do in like 5 minutes or less. And everything that you said, like if someone is not doing any of these self-care things. Like maybe we've kind of sold them on the benefits and like, what if you don't? And they're like, yeah, I am kind of short with my kids all the time. And I'm kind of
Yeah.
snapping at my husband or my wife, right? Like, I am kind of a little snappy with them. And maybe I should implement some of these self-care strategies. So what are like, your top 10, let's say, self-care strategies, like how can we do them? And then, what are some tips in implementing them?
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. And I want to say what you just said is a piece of gold right there about the snapping. One of the biggest benefits is also your emotional regulation, right? Nervous system regulation. And whether it's snapping at someone at work or then, snapping at your kids and then you regret it after, another is like living a life where you're not regretting how you're showing up, also. So my top 10 for when you don't have a lot of time is, first would be meditating. So sitting down on the floor, I like the app Insight Timer, thousands of free guided meditations. And I don't say, oh, I have to do it right when I wake up. It's really when I can sit down, listen to a beautiful guided meditation, and that's a wonderful reset. Um, Another one is reading. So a lot of people have this belief that I don't have time to read and that, oh, you need an hour, you're like lounging on a hammock. No. So I a lot of times will just read for 5 or 10 minutes before I go to bed. Not a long time, but it's a wonderful way to self care, learning, relaxing. So I highly recommend that as well. Um,
And
Number
this
three
is,
would be,
sorry, Tia, I just need to add in there because those two strategies alone that you mentioned, we actually did an episode on the podcast about, it's almost like 3 years now ago. And those were two that were shared on that podcast that I implemented and have been utilizing on a daily basis for, almost the last 3 years, and have found huge help with the guided meditations, and that it doesn't need to be super long. Like start with 5 minutes literally, but get in the habit. And it's amazing like how much that can just recenter yourself and
Mhm.
have a little gratitude and just have a different perspective. And I also love to do that kind of to wind down at the end of the day before I do a little bit of reading. And yeah, like you mentioned, I am not a reader. I've never been a reader for pleasure. It's always been, studying and medical journals. And then I went and did kind of an academic PhD. So it was like, research articles. And it was always like I
Yeah.
had to read for
Right.
projects and or
Right.
keeping up with the profession. So it was never something I did for pleasure. And now I've found some pleasure in actually doing some reading before bed, which is so much better, right, than like scrolling on our phones or going on social media.
Yes. Yeah, the doom scrolling is not on the self-care list. Right. Even though we all do it sometimes, but yes, absolutely. You can
All
you
right.
can get sucked in. Yes.
All right. So
So
we got
number
meditation, we
3,
got reading. Yeah. What's your
yep.
third?
Number 3 would be go outside, basically nature. Whether you live in the middle of a city or you live, wherever you live, It's going outside for 5 minutes without any technology, no matter the weather. And you can just stand quietly. You can sit quietly for 5 minutes, close your eyes, and just tune in to your other four senses and just be present in nature. It is a fantastic reset. Number four is self-compassion practice. So this has been life-changing for me. So humans are very self-critical of themselves. So when you mess up, let's say you yell at your kids, or you mess up on a report at work, or you didn't go on the runs that you wanted to this week, and you're like berating yourself. Self-compassion is you notice how you're feeling, right? That's the mindfulness. And you talk to yourself the way you would talk to your best friend. So a best friend would say, "It's okay, Tia. You don't normally yell at your kids. You messed up. They know that you love them." Or, "It's okay. You missed your 3 runs this week. You're awesome. Just try again next week." So self-compassion is really being mindful and talking to yourself like a friend, and knowing that all humans, all 8 billion of us, are self-critical. This is how the human brain is wired. So um, if you can, and you can change your neural pathways by doing this. Um, that was number 4. I think so.
I
Um,
love it. Yes, that was 4.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So number 5 is having a gratitude practice. So I have a gratitude journal in my bathroom several times a week. Several times a week, I write down just in a couple minutes everything I'm grateful for. And the more that you do this, the more your brain focuses on what you have versus what you don't have. And again, the research shows it changes your neural pathways. Um, Number 6 would
That has
be,
sorry, Tia, I
yeah,
just need to jump in there because,
yeah,
number 1, I love the getting outside, being present in nature, and I've noticed a huge difference even if I'm not truly outside in when I change my work environment where I do have this room that I'm in with full windows where it's almost like I'm outside, which helps to be able to see nature and get that feeling and get grounded. And but I love what you mentioned about like the senses and just tuning into hearing the birds chirping. And like I love doing that on a run when I'm outside, is just not having a music or podcast, and it can just, it's almost like a moving meditation where you are hearing what's going on, you're seeing what's going on, you're smelling, right, and you're getting into all those senses during a run. And the self-compassion practice, I think is great because we are so hard on ourselves, and runners
yes.
especially are so
Runners are,
hard on ourselves, especially like, hey, you could have run faster, you could have done better at that race, why did you not do this right or that right? And I think having that self-compassion practice and flipping that from the other side of if it was a best friend, I love that. And I find myself actually doing that in my journal. And I've been doing gratitude kind of journaling for the past 3 years as well. That was another practice that I picked up and have found that super helpful to really, like you said, focus on what you have and the positive
yes.
things in your life and not perseverate on what you felt like was a negative thing that happened on that random day, and where it kind of snowballs into the next day and the week and the month, and it's like this is the worst month ever in my life, and
Right.
everything is like falling. um
Yes, the catastrophizing. Yes, absolutely. I just got back from the World Happiness Summit, and one of the speakers said, happiness is wanting what you have, right? Like if you think about your life and everything that you have, and I'm sure we're if you think about all different parts of the world, everyone here that has the ability to run for leisure, run in races, is like we're in this top percentage, right? And so social media constantly shows us what we don't have, what others have more of, and there's messages, marketing messages, etc. But just really focusing on, wow, my life is really, really a gift, and I'm so thankful I woke up again today. and continuously focusing on that mindset.
All right. Yes, and I couldn't agree more. And I love your top five because I've actually have some experience with all five of these so far. But I'm imagining your next five I might not have experience in. So yeah, what is number six?
Okay, number six is, and this is actually a 1 minute. You record a video of yourself and you send it to one of your friends. You're going to record a message, or it could be a family member. So, the number one predictor of happiness, which is a part of self care, is human connection, our relationships. So, and this is our friends and family, and maybe your coworkers or some of your friends too. So, if you think about the people that if you had 6 months to live and you got this diagnosis, they say you have 6 months to live, who are you going to spend time with? Who are you going to want to be with? Right? This is your people. So what you want to do is you want to increase connection. And a lot of us do text messages or send email, whatever. And so I say in 5 minutes, do a quick 5 minute phone call. Or what I do a lot is I record a video like, hey, Ginger, I'm just thinking of you. I hope you're having such a good day. Good luck on your keynote in Miami. Sending a big hug, send. And by doing that, you're going to be happier. And then the person receiving it is going to be so happy. And guess what that person's probably going to do? Send one back. So that's a little micro example of human connection in this world of technology. That's number six.
I love that. I've never specifically done that before, but I've heard of it. And now, how you kind of explained it, I'm going to do that. I am going to do that actually today. I know exactly who I'm going to send a video to, but I love that idea. And it's so quick, it's so easy.
Yes, and I will say it's also for anyone that's listening that's in business development or sales, it's a fantastic prospecting tool of sending videos to clients. You're going to get a way higher response rate than if you're doing email or phone call. People always respond to video. So that's another one because it's the human connection. All right. So number seven this is really connected to your nervous system, is havening, or you could, it's a somatic practice. So this is when you're feeling stressed, maybe you're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling triggered by your kids or your spouse or your boss. You want to use your hands to calm your nervous system. So I'll give two examples. Let's say my kid's screaming and that sound is very triggering to me. What you do is you could put your hand on your chest and you just start patting. And this automatically is going to make your body feel calmer, less stress, bring down your cortisol levels. And you're telling your body, right? And you think we do this to babies, we pat their backs. So that's one you can pat just for a minute or so. Another is you can rub your hands together, or you can take your arm. I'm doing it in the video. You could take your hand and just slowly rub your arm. And this is havening, or like I said, a somatic practice. And it's going to help you just feel calmer quite quickly, actually. That's number seven. Okay. Number eight is noticing and sharing the glimmers. So our brains have a negativity bias, and we are more negative than positive generally. And some people have even more of a negativity bias than others. Think about our brains are constantly looking for what can hurt us, what's danger, what's dangerous. That's why the news is all negative. That's what sells advertising dollars. But we can shift that. So the glimmers are noticing what is going well, what are good things. And so, for example, my husband and I have an autistic parenting coach. So when there are great things happening with my daughter, I will share it. I'll say, oh, here's some glimmers today. Or I'll send to my mom, oh, here's some glimmers. And I'm sharing, hey, here's some good things that are happening. And it could be so simple, like it's a sunny day. Or it could be like, oh, just crushed an awesome run. Oh, just got this great email at work. It could be anything, but you are consciously choosing to stop and notice the good things. And you're telling your brain, there's good things happening. There's good things happening. And when you're sharing it with others, right? It's kind of back to that human connection piece. where you're making them feel good by sharing the glimmers. They're going to think about their glimmers. And again, it's reinforcing it for you. So kind of like gratitude, this is something that the more you do, the more your neural pathways will change and you'll start to just see way more good in your life.
Yeah, I love that. I could see even implementing this with my teenager at the dinner table, right? Because it's always like, how did school go today? Ah, it's fine, right? Like, you get the one word answers, and maybe I'll reframe this as like, hey, we're all going to share our glimmers today. Like,
Yeah.
what is
What's a glimmer? Yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
absolutely. Absolutely. So two more. In 5 minutes, take a space, whether it's work or in your home, and just declutter. The research shows that when we have less clutter or little clutter or more minimalism, we are happier and we are calmer. And you don't have to like do your whole kitchen, right? You could just choose a space and go, okay, I'm going to organize, I'm going to clean. Um, and that really will help you feel happier, calmer. And that's an act of self care because you're caring for your environment. And number 10 is turn on a really great song and dance. Move your
Even if you're by
body.
yourself, just
Yeah, by yourself,
let
with it
loose.
doesn't matter. You could do it and it doesn't have to be, dance music, rock, whatever it could be. It could be any type of music. But music makes us happier. There was an incredible Italian violinist at the World Happiness Summit. He brought thousands of us to tears and it was all about the connection of music and well-being. And so you could dance slowly. You could, it doesn't matter what kind of dance, but just listening to music, being upright, getting again away from the technology. Double whammy if you could do it outside, even better. But when a lot of this is about how children act and behave too, right? They're present, they're having fun, they're outside. So it's letting ourselves remember that too.
Oh, I love that. I've actually have been a dancer throughout my life, so whenever I get the opportunity to dance, it is always a happy moment. And it's a funny story that I was actually in the gym yesterday, or that was this morning actually, and a good song came on, and I'm in between sets, and kind of I'm like dancing, and then I'm like I look over, I'm like someone's running on the treadmill, I'm like they're probably looking at me like this dude is crazy, like he is legit
No, they're
dancing
thinking
in
this
the
dude
gym.
is happy.
I love it. So just to kind of summarize these were fantastic, by the way. One was meditation, two was read a book, three was go outside and be present in nature, four was self-compassion practice, five was gratitude journal, six was record a video message and send it to a friend, kind of getting that human connection. Seven was patting on your chest or havening, which is a somatic practice. Great. I learned something new today. This is awesome. Eight was notice and share the glimmers. I love that. Nine was declutter, which I've heard before as well. And I always feel better when I do that. So it makes sense. And 10 was turn on a great song and dance. I love it. These were phenomenal. I love this. And I can definitely chat with you like all day long about these self care strategies. And these were 10, but if someone wants to get like 20 more ideas so they can actually implement, they can literally do a different self care practice like every day of the month if they
Every day
wanted
of the
to
month.
with
Yes.
your 30 self care practice playbook. Where can they get that playbook?
Yes. So just go to tiagram.com/blog and it's right there at the top.
Perfect. And I will definitely put that link in the show notes as well. And I also know that you have something big coming up, for your Calm Working Moms Collective. Do you mind just sharing what you have in store later on this month for your group?
Yes. So I'm putting on a free event for working moms called the Joyful Working Mom Event. And it is April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. It's going to be a 45-minute live virtual event every single day. And we're going to talk about how to transform the guilt into more happiness and more joy. And so it'll be interactive and lots of tools. And the invitations are going to start going out next week. But if you go on my Instagram, or again, tiagraham.com, you'll find everything there. But for any of your amazing working mom runners, I would love to have you come.
Awesome. Yeah, no, you do a lot for your peeps and your working mom group. So these self care strategies are like extremely helpful. But I do need to ask you one more question as we come down the final stretch here. Is if you could change one thing about the misconception of self care, what would that be?
I would change that. I would change the misconception that it is selfish. Two things: that it's selfish, and that it is less important than work productivity. We glamorize and really glorify work success, and I'm a high achieving person, so it's not like I don't care about work, but we don't value self care as much as we should. So that's what I would change.
Oh, I love it. And yeah, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day today, Tia, to share with our Healthy Runner community. And, I'm looking forward to seeing, your Calm Working Moms Collective continue to thrive. I really appreciate you taking the time today to share your expertise with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And like I said, there's a lot I can learn from you, and so I know we're connected, and I'm excited to learn more from you.
Oh yes, we can definitely help out with that knee, those knee
Yes,
issues,
I
and
know.
strengthen your body so you can withstand more running. And
Yes.
yeah, thank you to the runner, my runner friends who really took action at listening to all of this talk today. So you can help revitalize in 5 minutes with these self care strategies to really optimize your recovery for all of the strength training and the running that you are crushing. And I hope your training is going well. And I appreciate you for listening to the podcast or watching the Spark Healthy Runner YouTube channel. If you enjoyed these strategies and know a busy working mother runner who needs to hear Tia's message, like on balancing all that you do with work, family, and running, like copy this link wherever you're listening to it or watching it and share it with them. Please and thank you. Self care practices are just like one of the 7 steps to master your recovery from running. You can learn the other 6 steps by queuing up episode 196 on the Healthy Runner podcast. Or if you're watching this within YouTube, just click the video that I have for you next. And as always, let's continue to grow a strong mind, a strong body, and let's just keep on running. Until next time.